So, welcome to the latest edition of CODA's Plugging Away podcast. My name is Francis Norman. I'm the CEO with CODA, and I am absolutely delighted today to welcome onto the show my very good friend Valverde from Petrobras. Hello, Valverde. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Francis. Thank you for the invitation. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. Well, as you said, I am Edson Valverde. I am married and father of two little girls and decommissioning manager at Petrobras. Well, I have started my career in the oil and gas industry in the same company in 2011. I was used to work with topside engineering for offshore production units. And from 2016 on, I have started working with decommissioning of production facilities. In the offshore decommissioning, I've already worked as a decommissioning engineer, coordinator of some technical subjects, decommissioning project manager for some subsea systems, and currently I am the strategic support manager for decommissioning, working on developing strategic guidelines for projects and supporting the company's positioning before our stakeholders. So, furthermore, I am currently also chairing the decommissioning committee of the Brazilian Institute of Petroleum and Gas.
Busy man. So, you've been in decommissioning since 2016, yeah?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's been a while.
It's been a while. Yes. But you must enjoy it to have stayed there for so long in such a big company.
Yeah, it's good. There are many challenges, and well, there's always the opportunity of bringing something new to the table, and mixing the experience, not so long experience, but you can always bring a fresh vision to the table. So it's good.
It's good. Brilliant. So for those who maybe aren't as familiar, can you tell us a little bit maybe about Petrobras itself and just the size of the organization?
Okay, well, Petrobras was founded in 1953. Our company is headquartered here in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil, and it's one of the largest producers of oil and gas in the world. Our average production is around 2.5 million barrels of oil equivalent per day. We have started operating offshore assets in the late 70s in the northeast of our country, moving to deeper waters with bigger discoveries during the 80s in Campos Basin, which is located in the southeast of Brazil. And over the decades, we have played a crucial role in Brazil development and energy security, becoming one of the leaders in deep water and ultra deep water oil exploration and production. So mainly and more recently in the pre-salt fields, in which are off Brazilian coast too, which now accounts for 70 to 80% of our production. So yeah,
And you've got everything from very near shore, very shallow water through to ultra deep water operations as well, haven't you? Which is quite a really diverse portfolio of different facilities.
yeah. As I said, we have started in really shallow waters in the northeast with fixed platforms. We have migrated to focusing on the bigger discoveries we had in Campos Basin, then moving to floating platforms. And when we achieved, we have mastered the technology of using those floating platforms, we kept kept moving for deeper waters and reached pre-salt in some point of our history, and that's why we have a boom on our production. So yeah, we have a really diverse portfolio here in Petrobras.
So all of that history and all of that diverse portfolio obviously then generates a not insignificant volume of activity for you and your colleagues in the decommissioning program that you've got. Can you sort of introduce us a little bit to what the scale and volume of work that you've got ongoing at the moment in your decommissioning is?
Yeah, well, in our 5-year business plan, so from 2025 to 2029, the forecast we have is to spend $9.9 billion with decommissioning operation. So 7% of that value is focused on well P&A, and the other 30% are related to equipment decommissioning. And when I say equipment, I'm talking about platforms and subsea systems. Well, talking a little bit of the scope, these 70% of the 9.9 billion is related to more than 400 wells to be abandoned. Half of them are wet completion wells, so subsea wells, and the other half platform wells. And when talking about equipment, we're talking about 2,000 kilometers of flexible lines that already are planned to be collected. And talking about the platforms, within this 5-year period, we have 10 platforms to leave the location. So from 2025 to 2029, we are talking about 5 FPSOs and 5 semi-submersibles to be removed from the location. After 2029, we already are studying lots of decommissioning projects that we already have in our pipeline. So after 2029, we have planned 50 fixed platforms to be decommissioned. So it's a long way to go. We already have some other floating platforms planned too. We already have projects for another 8 floating platforms after 2029. So it's just important to mention that all those numbers are based in forecasts, so they can change every new business plan, but they reveal how robust and perennial is the decommissioning demand here in Petrobras and in Brazil.
Yeah. We say much the same here about the forecasts, that it is just a forecast, that dates change, the way the work's going to be executed will change, but whichever way that works out, that is still an enormous amount of work. The 400 wells in 5 years, 400 wells, 10 platforms. That is, you're going to be busy. You're going to be busy for a long time.
Yeah, I will be employed for all for all this period.
Yep. So everyone else in the organization is working to keep you busy, basically, aren't they? They're building all these new facilities so that in 20, 30, 40 years' time, you get to deal with them at the other end of their life. Wow, that's a remarkable volume, though. It really is. When you compare that to other jurisdictions, you must be one of the largest in the world, are you, for your decommissioning workload, potentially?
Yeah, and we are aware of that. We have seen some studies that reveals that Brazil is placed within the top 3 decommissioning expenditures around the globe for the next 10 years. So we know that we have lots of work to do.
So what's the regulatory expectations then for decommissioning in Brazil?
So let me give an overview of our regulatory framework in order to talk about their expectations. So here in Brazil, we have 3 main regulatory bodies that all of them plays an important role in the approval of our decommissioning projects. So we have the Brazilian Navy, which is looking for the other users of the sea, especially considering the safety and navigation conditions. So any proposal that we present may do not cause any unjustified interference with the other users in order to achieve their approval. So this one expectation from their side. We also have IBAMA, which is our environmental agency. They also have some criteria to be met. especially considering the impacts of the decommissioning options to the environment. And finally, we have ANP, which is our oil and gas agency. They have a specific resolution for decommissioning. So the majority of our guidelines came from this specific resolution that ANP has. So that's it. That's the overall framework. We also have some other regulators, and it depends on the scenario. Um, Sometimes we have to speak with each state environmental body. Uh, Sometimes we have to talk to other agencies. So, but the main three are those ones that I've mentioned.
Yeah, it's a decent overlay that you've got of regulations. Yeah, but it sounds very practical that you've got those three, and they seem like they're well aligned, if you like, in terms of how the scopes fit together for what they've got to do. And then the cost, I imagine, comes down to the operator for covering all the costs.
Yeah. Here in Brazil, it's up to the operator to bear with the decommissioning costs, and also we have a specific resolution from ANP or oil and gas agency uh, that states that the operator shall present decommissioning guarantees. So if an operator face any financial issues during the decommissioning stage, the guarantees are supposed to cover those costs. So yeah, it's all owned by the operators.
Same as here. We don't have the guarantees piece, but we have the expectations here the same for full costs from the operators. Yeah. So when was the start? I mean, when was the start of decommissioning in for Petrobras and in Brazil? I mean, were you there at the beginning in 2016, or was it already underway then?
Yeah, our decommissioning department was created in 2016 after the company found the need of organizing this activity, and we had few decommissioning happening since then. But I would say that things really started to happen after 2020, especially with the rejuvenation of the Marlin field. So, well, from the top of my head, since 2020, we have decommissioned like 5 FPSOs, 3 jackets, and 3 semi-submersibles. I can recall the numbers of wells and kilometers of lines, but as I said, we have a big portfolio to come, and we've been working with that since 2016. So we spent uh, uh, some time organizing our portfolio, and from 2020 on, we have been executing much more than what we did in the past.
Yeah. So your timeline sounds quite similar to what we see in Australia, that there was small bits of decommissioning happening up until 2020. And then we had the big change here, and sort of 2021, 22, we had a real start then of the volume of work going on. So yeah, we're traveling along this journey together, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah. Ah, that's good. So
really similar.
is all of yes, is all of your portfolio offshore, or does Petrobras have some onshore decommissioning as well?
Yeah, we still have some onshore facilities of our own. We certainly have some installation to decommissioning, some well P&A to do onshore, but the great majority of our demand is related to offshore assets, both in quantities and costs. So yeah, all those numbers that I've mentioned before are much more related to the offshore decommissioning, which is the greatest challenge that we have now.
Yeah, I think that will be the same for most, where you've got the mix. The offshore is always it's always the big, expensive, complex, challenging one, where there's big opportunities to get things right, and there's also risks that you maybe don't always get it right. And yeah, so we touched a little bit on earlier on the mix of shallow and deep water. You started in the shallow water, so are you seeing? Was that where your early activity was in the decommissioning as well, with the shallow water?
Yeah. Well, we have some decommissioning being done in shallow water, but since Petrobras had this migration to deeper waters with the time, uh, we had less dependence on shallow water assets. But in these next 5 years that I've mentioned, our demand is centered on deeper water assets that are going through this revitalization process. But as I said, after 2029, we already have started studies to decommissioning 50 fixed platforms, and all of them are located in shallower water depths, especially those that are located in the northeast of Brazil, which was the first place we started producing. So
Wow. Yeah. So the wells, you said 400 wells the next 5 years. Is that the same shape going out for the years to come as well? Is it sort of 400 wells every 5 years, or is there a peak for all of that?
since we have started the decommissioning here in Petrobras, we saw that we had a lot of wells to P&A. These demand were bigger in some years, and now we're starting to have more control of them. We are still with some backlog of wells to be P&A. I believe that this demand will get a decrease after 2029, but we'll keep a number that is not insignificant. So yeah, so after 2029, we will still have some demand for well P&A. May not be as high as we have right now, but we will still have some of the biggest portfolios in the world.
Again, similar from what we have here. We had a backlog of wells, if you like, that we're working through now. And probably in about 5 or 6 or 7 years, most of that backlog will be dealt with. And then we've just got the wells as they come up. So many similarities. It really is. It really is. So all of that work then must be. What size is the team of people? How many folks do you have working in the decommissioning space?
When talking about the strategic support team, we have 10 dedicated people working. But when you look in a broader view for our project management department, I would say that the number exceeds 150 people. In total, working directly and indirectly with the commissioning our company, I guess the number can be as big as 1,000, but I have never stopped to do the math. So I'm aware of how many we have at our department, but never account for how many people are working all across Petrobras with the
It's
commission.
still a significant number of people. Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. So all of that work, there must be some really interesting challenges that you're dealing with and that you're solving and that you're looking at as you go forwards. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the big challenges that you're dealing with?
I would say that we have enough lessons learned to improve the regulatory framework, especially regarding timeline. So we are working closely with the regulatory bodies to understand their side too, so we can truly create a cooperative environment in Brazil. So I'm not sure if you recall, but in June 16th, just before the SPE Brazil decommissioning symposium, we had an event held by the Brazilian Institute of Petroleum and Gas to hear the regulators and what are their main concerns with the commissioning process. So we wanted to know what can we as an industry can do to assure that our projects are close to their expectations, and what practices can we compile in guidelines. So in order to simplify the approval process and cooperate with them. So I would say from the regulatory perspective is that, but also when we are talking about resource, in my view, we need to improve the access to recycling facilities, mainly those related to platforms. Uh, and this is not an issue that impact only Petrobras, only Brazil. I would say it's a worldwide concern. I've seen studies that if assuming that no new ship recycling facilities will be in place until 2029, Europe will reach the capacity limit of EU flagged vessels to be dismantled. So it's a bottleneck for the maritime industry and affects the oil and gas too. So we've been raising this concern in many forums, not only as a problem, but also as an opportunity. So I see Brazil as a prepared country to capture these opportunities too. So we're working to in to make shipyards and ports conscious of this need to create capacity here in Brazil, and not only for the oil and gas industry, but the whole maritime industry too would benefit for that from that. So
Mm. Yeah, that's it. That's just that piece, that ship recycling. We could spend hours talking about that.
yeah, a whole episode on ship recycling.
And obviously offline, if you like, in meetings and in sort of the conversations, I do spend hours talking about that, the same as you do as well. But then I guess alongside of that, you've got all the other materials that you're bringing ashore, all the flexibles and umbilicals and pipelines and all that to recycle as well. I know you're working on growing that side or supporting industry and growing that side. How's that all going? Is it coming along?
Yeah, well, yes, I think it's working. Since for flexibles, especially the port side, when it's a little bit easier to adapt the port to receive the retrieved lines, we haven't faced many challenges, or I would say we faced in the past, and now we are much more prepared, and now we are working on the recycling stream. So we have seen some suppliers developing capacity here in Brazil with great infrastructure, great concern on the sustainability side of the process, the circularity side of how to improve the reuse of the materials. So yeah, I would say we are moving on quite well with the recycling streams. So I would say that the majority of the challenge remains on the platform side.
Yeah, makes sense. That really does make sense. Um, so a couple of months ago, when I got to come and see you in your home city, I was also incredibly lucky to get an opportunity to go and visit the Senpes research facility. I said to somebody, one of the ladies that took me around that place, I said, I don't just want to work here, I actually want to live here. It's an absolute remarkable place that you've got there. Um, they were doing some pieces of research in there in the decom space as well. Is there anything there you're able to maybe talk about?
Yeah, sure. Well, I love that place too, Francis. Some people call it Brazilian NASA. So, yeah,
That's fair.
yeah, it's a great face. Yeah, we do have some issues that are quite particular to the Brazilian scenario that we are studying that in Sampus. But also there are many things in which our research center is working with that can be extended as solution for decommissioning projects all over the world. So it also create the possibility of cooperation all across our industry. But I'll pick two examples here, more specific for our Brazilian case, just to exemplify what they are doing. So in Brazil, we have an invasive coral from the Pacific called orange cup coral, or like Brazilian like to call the sun coral. and they can roll in the hulls of the floating platforms and in the legs of the fixed platforms, and they are concerned because of the risk of spreading them, because they compete with endemic species. So when we have to bring those units to a port or to yard, we have to take a lot of measures. So we have an R&D project working on solutions to neutralize those corals, so we can reduce the use of human diving operations when bringing those platforms to the coast. So it's quite interesting project. Um, Another example I can give is, well, since we have so many flexible pipelines in deeper water depths, we also had to work on a way to reduce the load of those lines on the vessels that performs the retrievals. So we can use simpler vessels and make it more cost effective. So our engineers from the R&D center have came up with this clever concept of the subsea reel drive. So instead of having the reel on the vessel, you deploy the reel closer to the seabed. So the load of the flexible line is much smaller when they're being retrieved. So it enables simpler vessels to execute the service. So there are many interesting projects in Sampis. You can have a whole episode just talking about them. I'm sure you have seen some of them, but yeah, that place is amazing, and we are uh, having some really good outcomes from the Center for or Decommissioning Challenges.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really struck me, not just the campus itself, but also how practical all the work was that was there. It wasn't, I've visited in my, at different points in my career, I've visited some research places, and there's a lot of theoretical stuff going on. But I saw when I came around Tempest, well, so much of it was really practical. It was, this is a problem we have to solve, rather than, oh, look, there's a nice shiny toy, I want to play with it. It was very, very, very much the practical, let's find the solutions to these things. No, it was an amazing, amazing place to go. And yeah, you're very fortunate to have access to a place like that. So look, I guess one thing I definitely noticed with I've met now a lot of your colleagues over the last few years at conferences. Everybody seems to be really enjoying what they're doing, and they seem to be really happy with where in working in the decommissioning part. What is it that sort of inspires you and your team with the decommissioning?
Yeah, well, we really have many people that are enthusiastic about decommissioning Petrobras. For me, and I would say for many of them, it's the possibility of doing something new, testing things and approaches, trying to get it right, and building an activity from the ground is one in a lifetime opportunity that we can have. So yeah, but I have also heard of some of my colleagues that what inspires them is the chance they have to create a legacy. So by decommissioning our system properly and doing it in a sustainable way, we are showing the responsibility the oil industry has with the stakeholders. So, well, regardless of the motivation, what I see in my team and the colleagues I found across the industry is that we have a big challenge, and that's a really good motivation. And we have created a great sense of cooperation to find the right path. So I truly believe that everyone that works in the decommissioning industry has a sense of community, like we are the group of the decommissioning. So yeah, this sense of community also helps a lot.
Yeah, it feels, doesn't matter where you go in the world, the people are, everybody that you come across that's working in the decom space, they want to talk to other people about what they're doing. They all want to share. So many other parts of so many industries, there's so many secrets, and there's so many things people don't want to talk about. I've not seen that in decommissioning. Everywhere I go, People just want to work with everyone else. They want to help everyone else do the work better. They really genuinely want to contribute. It makes it such an interesting space. But yeah, as I say, you've clearly got you've cracked something in your organisation that you've got such a happy, friendly, passionate group of people in there. So well done on that to you and your predecessors as well. So sort of maybe a last question for you. What are you most looking forward to? Maybe in the second 10 years as being part of the decommissioning industry.
Well, what I really, really want is for projects to be accomplished in the best possible way. And it is not a cliche. I am not working directly on the projects anymore, but I have been in this position, and I can feel their day-to-day struggles, and every success they have is something we celebrate a lot. So I'm working hard to to help them as much as I can from my position. So yeah, I just want them to succeed on the projects. Yeah, and help them.
Yeah, that's a nice sentiment to end with. Yeah. So look, honestly, thank you so much for sharing all this with us. It's been absolute pleasure talking to you about decommissioning, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you at the next event or catching up with you on another call in the near future. Eh?
Okay, thank you, Francis. Was always a pleasure to talk to you, and I do hope to have you here again in Brazil in the next SP symposium, and maybe grab a cup of coffee in Sampes. Okay.
Oh, for sure. Thank you.